We typically associate the scale of historical mass death with the battlefield: smoke-filled craters, artillery fire, and soldiers in combat. However, the 20th century's most lethal events often originated from domestic policies, agricultural decrees, and executive orders signed behind closed doors. 6 historical figures: Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Slobodan Milošević, and Harry Truman, presided over casualty counts that reached into the millions. Though their geopolitical goals differed, every one of these men mobilized the logistical power of the state to systematically eliminate large populations. Tracing these methods reveals a consistent pattern. Calculated political choices and top-down engineering drove the era's largest losses of human life. The first mechanism relies on forced economic transformations. Leaders attempt to build a utopian society by completely overhauling how the working class lives and farms. Joseph Stalin enforced massive agricultural collectivization across the Soviet Union. By seizing private farms and establishing strict grain quotas, his policies manufactured the Holodomor famine between 1932 and 1933, starving approximately 4 million Ukrainians. Mao Zedong later scaled this mechanism of forced agricultural reform to a larger extreme with China's Great Leap Forward. By forcing millions of agricultural workers into rapid, poorly planned industrial projects, the state triggered an agricultural collapse. Modern estimates suggest that up to 45 million people died in the resulting famines. Mao then initiated the Cultural Revolution, a campaign of ideological purges and aggressive persecution against anyone labeled a political opponent. In Cambodia, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge implemented a similarly radical vision. Between 1975 and 1979, they forcibly emptied entire cities, marching professionals and urban residents into rural labor camps, where up to 2 million people died. When a state attempts to violently hammer its society into an ideological mold, the byproduct is mass starvation and the destruction of a nation's intellectual class. The second mechanism uses state power for a more direct purpose: the targeted eradication of specific ethnic or social demographics. Adolf Hitler turned Nazi Germany into an industrialized machine designed to eliminate those he deemed enemies of the state. The Holocaust resulted in the murder of 6 million Jews, alongside millions of Romani people, individuals with disabilities, and political opponents. The Nazi state institutionalized murder, building a heavily researched project designed specifically for systematic elimination. This brand of ethnic targeting continued into the 1990s. Slobodan Milošević oversaw a campaign of violence and ethnic cleansing across the Balkans. His regime directed deportations and mass executions against non-Serbs in Kosovo, Croatia, and Bosnia, including the Srebrenica massacre. He was ultimately indicted for crimes against humanity by an international tribunal. These policies mobilized the full legal and military weight of a government with the sole intent of wiping entire communities off the map. The final mechanism is the wartime calculus, where a leader authorizes high civilian casualties to force an immediate military surrender. In August 1945, President Harry Truman ordered the use of atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 170,000 people died. In Hiroshima, 70,000 were killed instantly, with tens of thousands more in both cities dying over the following months from injuries and radiation sickness. This executive order introduced the existential threat of weapons of mass destruction into human conflict, creating a new threshold for global military power. Whether the tool was a death camp, an agricultural decree, or a nuclear payload, the most lethal forces in modern history originated with the stroke of a pen. This chart shows cumulative death tolls from these 3 mechanisms. The bureaucratic decisions of a few leaders compound into tens of millions of lives lost. Their absence creates a demographic void that continues to influence the cultural and genetic makeup of the world today. Historical analysis requires measuring a leader's time and power by the ultimate human cost of their decisions, rather than their stated goals. Are there other historical figures whose policies warrant addition to this list? Share your names and reasons in the comments.